Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk It Out platform. I'm Al Lipschutz, aka Trey Busy, and you are listening to the Shine the Light on Toxic Relationships podcast. This is episode 9 of the podcast. And of course, as you are well aware by this point, this podcast is taught and led by certified life coach and published author Celicia Shan. Celicia, how you doing tonight?
Hey Alec, I am having a wonderful day. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. The weather keeps going in and out, but I'll be all right. You know,
Yeah, I appreciate it all. I really do.
well, I don't want to get in your way. So I will
hmm
let you go ahead and teach us as you do so well.
Thank you so much. So, hey everyone, how wonderful are you today? I love to ask that because it shifts you to focus on the great parts of your day and not the parts that aren't so great, right? And right now we can think about so many things that aren't going so well in our lives, but the things that are going great, they're still there. And it's really good that we don't take them for granted and just dismiss them because of all the chaos that's going on. So, but in the midst of it all, don't forget your greatness, right? So we sometimes take it for granted and we fall into the predominant energy around us. And as you know, it is the one right now that doesn't feel so good. So, but today's episode can be a little disheartening, but nonetheless, we must shine the light on this issue. And this is titled One Hit Split. One Hit You Split. So we are shining the light on abusive relationships today. So just a little background on why I was inspired to talk about this on this episode and shine the light on abusive relationships. Um, I personally have experiences with this, but also I read this article in the Washington Post about a natural hair YouTuber named Shayna Donahue, who was stabbed to death by her boyfriend, Daniel Fleetwood. They were broken up for 2 years prior, and then they decided to get back together. And he moved into her place with his daughter after about a month into their new rekindled relationship. That's the first red flag, right? I'm not sure if many of you even consider that a red flag, but I do. That's a red flag. Then Shayna was an elementary school teacher who taught nutrition and healthy eating. Not much was said about what Daniel did for a living, but Shayna and Daniel, they grew up together and they were considered, soulmates and sweethearts. And other people that know them say that they seem to be very much in love. And so now on the night of the incident, it was May 28th, 2020. Like, isn't that like last week or 2 weeks ago? Not even 2 weeks ago. So it's very recent. A neighbor went to check on Shayna after hearing a loud fight that night in her apartment. And so the neighbor saw her body in a fetal position near a glass table. And she had puncture wounds to her neck, her stomach, her right bicep, her right thigh, her hip, and shoulder blades. How many stabs were there? One, two, three, four, five, six. She had bite marks were found on her right wrist. There was blood everywhere, the walls, the door handles, and a pair of scissors and a knife was also found. So Daniel walked into the apartment, and his clothes was covered in blood, and asked to speak to Shayna, telling the police that afterwards everything could be explained. He was 26 years old, and he told the police that he'd been in a fight that night, the night before, and that she asked him to left the apartment. So Daniel told the detective that him and Shayna got into a shouting match, and she ordered him to leave the apartment. And he said they began pushing each other. Then Daniel told the detectives that Shayna stabbed him first with a pair of scissors, and that he grabbed the scissors out of her hands to defend himself. Right? And these are his words that he said, quote, "She tried to get me really angry on purpose, and I don't know why. It is like a thing that all women have. Yeah, she was trying to get me upset. A man has to die to be truly in love. I never had this done before. I think it's a devilish type of thing. It's hard to explain. I can see it. When you are in a relationship with a girl, it's like a psych thing." So Daniel said that the two began stabbing each other and that she stopped, but he continued. In his words, again, in quotes, it was like something in me, like a demon in me, wanted to kill. And once I killed her, I came alive. So the documents said that the documents say he told detectives, right? And Daniel also told the police that he had been drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana the night before the fight, actually, right before the fight. So if you guys don't know, alcohol and marijuana are two different things, right? Alcohol also has the name called spirits, and marijuana is a live plant, so they all carry energy. So when you are drinking alcohol and your body, right, your natural body, and so you have your body, your mind, and your spirit, right? We talk about this all the time. When you drink alcohol, alcohol is a depressant, right? So it brings your energy, your vibrations down. So if you are drinking so much alcohol that your body is no longer a match to the vibration of your spirit, then your spirit leaves you, your normal spirit leaves you, and another entity has the ability to take over your body for a joyride until you become a match back to your normal spirit. Now, it's no coincidence that alcohol is called spirit. So marijuana is also has the same effect, but not as um, harsh. But you are when you share energy and space with any other thing outside of you. It could be a person. It could be when you eat food. It could be when you drink anything. So when you smoke marijuana, it also has a vibration, and when your vibration mixes, it can either bring you up or bring you down. So that's just segueing off of this story so that I can kind of get you guys to understand what is really happening when we have these things in our bodies. So Shayna's supervisor and her friend Jennifer, the director of education at Fresh Farm where she works, said that Shayna had complained to the colleagues that Daniel had been abusive to her in the past. Second red flag. Shayna had broke off her engagement to Fleetwood some time ago, and she said, so colleagues were surprised to hear that she allowed him to move back into her apartment. Third red flag. So such a sad story, and I actually checked out her YouTube channel, and she seems to have such a soft and gentle presence. So may her soul be at peace. And I'm sorry that we have to, bring this sad story to the forefront of this topic tonight, but we need to hear it and we need to talk about it. So let's break this story down by the red flags that I mentioned before I go into my tip. So the first red flag. Daniel moved into her place with his daughter after about a month into their rekindled relationship. Now, when you break up with someone and you try to rekindle a relationship after years, you still need to take the time to get to know them all over again. He moved into her place after only 1 month of getting back together. And also, I know I will piss a few of you off with this, but it is a red flag for a man with a child to move into a woman's home. They say that says so much about you. This shows that he's unstable with a child. He could be irresponsible. He lacks foundation. He is not a leader as a man. And ideally, a woman should move into a man's establishment. Men are naturally programmed to be protectors and providers. And if they show no signs of this, it is usually because they have some healing to do. So if I pissed you off with my opinion, good. Now use it to reflect back to you what you need to work on. And you can send me an email. What's up? But the second red flag is Shayna had complained to colleagues that Daniel had been abusive to her in the past. So y'all, if you are in an abusive relationship, this could be physical, emotional, or verbal. This is a ticking time bomb and you never know when it can blow. If it's in this person once, it is in them. So don't believe that there is change. So if so, let it be with the next person because the chance has been ruined with you. So one hit, you split, period. Okay? So I've seen emotional abuse and verbal abuse turn into physical abuse. So don't take any of them lightly. Emotional and mental abuse can be name calling, derogatory nicknames like, hey, my fat mama, and he knows that you hate being called fat mama. Or hey, my little short man, and you know he has an insecurity with his height. You know, those are derogatory nicknames. You know, you might think they're funny, but they might not be funny for the other person. Character assassination, yelling, patronizing, public embarrassment, being dismissive towards your feelings and emotions. People who care about you will show up for your feelings and your emotions, right? You wouldn't be confused. They wouldn't want to see you hurt. If they care about you, they want to make sure that you're happy. Intimacy is you see into me, and that means you take me as you. And whenever someone's expressing that there's something going on emotionally, and you just dismiss it, you're really showing them that you don't care. Insulting your appearance, belittling you, and the list can go on. And I'm sure y'all can add more to this list. But if nothing that I've said or listed hits home, here are some signs that you've been emotionally and mentally abused. You lack confidence. You can't control your emotions. You can't maintain healthy relationships with others. You may isolate yourself, and you may be depressed, have anxiety, or live in deep fear. This is all toxic. I've seen women who have been in domestic violence situations, toxic relationships for so long that when they get out, it's like they wake up like, who the hell am I? What do I like to do? Where do I like to go? What do I like to eat? Like they don't know anything about themselves because they've completely lost themselves by being inauthentic in a relationship that did not serve them. Men too, don't let it be you. So the third red flag is Shayna had broke off her engagement to Daniel some time ago and she allowed him to move back into her apartment. Now this right here is a pure example of what I talk about in episode 5 about intermittent reinforcement. That addiction to toxic relationship that you can't let go of. If you want to learn more about this, watch episode 5. She had already came to the conclusion that the relationship is not for her, to the point where she broke it off after an engagement. Having to double back after such a huge decision is a huge red flag. Like this is a red flag. She was detached from her intuition. This is why healing is so important. Meditation is so important. And if you want to start meditation, listen to episode 8, the last episode that we did dealing with the breath. Doing the inner work is extremely important. When you make decisions, you will stand solid on them because you trust yourself after you've done the work. We take the work lightly. We joke about it. We put it as second priority. We put ourselves and our healing and our self-care as last priority, and we think everything else falls first. But it's the opposite because we are the seed. We are the root of everything. know, trust that who you were when you left the relationship made the right decision and moved forward. And this situation is so sad because as I was reading into her story and her recent GoFundMe and everything about who she was, like she had such a great promising future, right? And it's not that this situation is extremely toxic. And I made a post recently talking about how stay away from the people that trigger you. If you know somebody can take you there to the point where you want to pick up a scissors and stab them and y'all having a stabbing match, that person is not someone that you should be around. Your spirit, your healing is not ready to be in that space. So it's a really sad story because she seemed to have a really promising future, but yeah, it was all taken away in one night with one decision that I'm pretty sure she didn't think that fight and that argument was going to be the last fight and the last argument. Now, I've definitely been there, but the key is that I am still here, and you are still here, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast. So we don't want to take our time here for granted by playing with your life and staying in these toxic situations. You never know if the next time will be the last time. So my advice, after one hit, you split. Get the hell out of there. So again, if you haven't already done so, my book is on Amazon. At the end of the day, it's me overcoming the addiction to toxic relationships. I touched on an abusive relationship that I was in the past in the book. So even if you struggle with this, check out my book. You can also follow me on Instagram at continued_expansion. And if you like a one-on-one coaching session, I am doing a deal right now. Even though COVID is lightening up, but I'm still doing the 30 for 30. That's $30 for 30 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them in. And that's all I have for you today. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.